All right, Craig. Listen, you give us 15 minutes of no drums. Just 15 minutes of no drums, followed by an hour and a half of no drums. And then for eternity with no drums, and I'll be very happy.
Swap it up to bells.
Oh, God. Why'd
Yeah.
you give him that idea?
Kazoo.
Now, is there like a more of a primal aspect to hitting drums versus bells? Because like you're beating a dead animal essentially to make noise versus, hitting forged, highly tuned and instrumentized metal. Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
would a barbarian subclass bard ever use a bell over a drum? I don't think they ever would.
Not likely.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher with a vast array of experience playing rangers and clerics and monks, which we'll talk about today. I'm joined with Jay, who doesn't play those because they're not wizards. And we're also joined by Christian again because he's the one that actually read over all the stuff and he's going to tell us what happened. And then I'm going to say it's all bullshit. And Jay's going to say, well, actually, it's half good, half bad. And we're going to repeat the process today.
Well, thanks for listening to the entirety of the podcast right there, because that's a perfect summation of how this is going to go.
Yep.
All right. So we're starting with Ranger today. I guess this, of all the subclasses that they changed for 2024 D&D, this is the one that it had the most changes, right?
This is the one that has the most changes. I take issue with the fact that they say that it's a brand new class, because it's definitely not.
Nope.
So
that annoyed me right out of the gate, that he was like, this is effectively a brand new class. And no, it's not. It's effectively the ranger from Tasha's tweaked.
Okay, because when my experience with playing rangers, both in the game and DMing with players that played rangers, they've always been very highly specific to the campaign you're running. Like I ran a Frost Maiden campaign, and I had a guy that was playing a ranger that had all the winter-based ranger stuff attached to him because he's a ranger from Icewind Dale. And it made perfect sense, and it trivialized a lot of survival encounters. But I felt that if this is a class that is going to spend most of his time out in the wilderness learning to survive, that he has those advantages. And it really bothered me that I couldn't run survival encounters, because sometimes they're great and sometimes they suck, and it made it easy for me to just hand wave off survival stuff.
I think that's one of the biggest arguments against the ranger, is that is supposed to be one of their big pillars, is that they are useful in these sort of wilderness exploration survival encounters. And most of the time you either are with a ranger, if you have a ranger, your DM just sort of hand waves and goes, okay, well, I guess you can do it. And so I'm good at this and get to be cool in this element thing just gets kind of like, red lined across the map as you travel somewhere, and like you just show up and you're like, well, okay. I mean, I guess it's great that we avoided stuff, but I didn't get to like showcase what I can do. I just sort of gotta, yep, you're cool, you're a ranger, you guys get there.
I mean, I still had to make his, associated rolls and stuff, but they're always going to be like, all right, I have advantage on this and I have double the stuff. And I'd be like, okay, well, with your 27 to survival check to track some elk in the Icewind Dale, you're successful. Like, it's kind of hard to say that he was bad at it, but if he wasn't there, okay, if he hadn't joined the ranger, if that wasn't there, the party would have struggled heavily traversing Icewind Dale. And maybe he power gamed the choice a little bit. He was a good player, my rules lawyer player, Dimitri. So he kind of knew like this would be a huge benefit to the team, and it was. He still participated in social encounters and combat encounters. He wasn't nerfed or anything like that. He participated fully with a lot of stuff. He used Zephyr Strike to my annoyance many times. And overall, it was great that he was there. And my other experience with Ranger is that when I played the Tasha Ranger, I played the Monster Slayer variant. Mm-hmm. And all I did is basically walk around as a GIF and just blow things out of existence. I did no survival work. I did no survival training. I didn't search for food for crap. I had space rations. I had grilled hamster. I was happy. And I just shot things from 1,000 feet away and they died. And I've never experienced that, I guess, issue with the Rangers where, like, oh, I'm a Ranger. I know how to traverse the desert, but I'm stuck in water deep. Whatever will I do? DM, help me. Like, you
I
shouldn't have picked
definitely,
Ranger for water deep.
yeah, that's, I guess, but I think I've definitely experienced that in play of, well, you don't necessarily know what you're going to run into. Sure, you might if your DM says, hey, we're running a Waterdeep campaign, you're going to be in the city. But if it's just, hey, we're running a game and here we go, you might have little to no idea of what you're going to be up against. And
But
when you picked your
isn't that the fun of the challenge then? Being a ranger from the forest and being stuck now in the desert and like having to try to figure out how your skills from a forest perspective now work from a desert perspective.
I mean,
I
you
will
still
say
you
the
still
one
have
thing I
survival.
liked about what he put out in this video, it was almost it wasn't a throwaway comment. It was just a brief aside that they had, as they said that they're trying to kind of, I guess in their remake of the Ranger, trying to reclass it and show you that you're not necessarily supposed to be a like in tune with nature. You don't have to be an elf like preserving nature. Like, this is just somebody that knows how to get around and somebody that has traveled extensively. This is supposed to be the kind of like, this is as much Craven the Hunter as a a good guy. This is a survival. This guy may hate nature, but he knows how to survive in it. This is
Okay. So
but
I guess my next question then would be is like, why not just play a fighter with archery?
If you are looking to just do damage, fighter with archery is probably the better way to go.
Yep.
If you are wanting to be able to cast some spells and still use archery, the ranger would be the better way to go. That being said, with a lot of the changes that we're going to go over here shortly, I personally feel like I won't say they've nerfed the ranger, they've just made the ranger less ranger. It is more of a fighter rogue with spells.
Yeah, 'cause the spell aspect of it kind of always felt right, kind of okay, but I never liked the whole having to be one with animals kind of side of things, and that's just my play style thing. And I know a lot of people liked it. A lot of people want to be Rexar from World of Warcraft. I get
yes,
it.
it
I
is.
understand it.
It is the most popular kind of style of ranger, but I think that's one of the reasons they mentioned that you don't have to be that way. The ranger is somebody that is supposed to be a, knowledgeable about the wild, not necessarily its friend.
Okay.
Which I think is a great point to make, to kind of maybe show some other people like, hey, just because you have spells that are geared towards that doesn't mean you are its friend. It means you know how to utilize being out in the wild and being out in the wilderness to your advantage.
Okay. All right. So that kind of answers all my questions about Rangers. So tell me how they're better now, or worse now, or
I think
sell me on Rangers. Make me a Ranger.
I don't want to sell you on it because I have some issues with this one.
Oh,
They're undoubtedly an upgrade from 2014, mostly because they just take a lot of the stuff from Tasha's, which made Rangers pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, that's what I played, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. It was
Yes.
every once in a while, I pick spells. Like I picked a healing spell here. I picked being able to find stuff. I picked abilities that would help me just track prey and kill prey better.
I will say
And
we had a campaign that went on long enough that it was pre-Tasha's, where somebody started out playing a ranger, hated it, so they were allowed to respent to a fighter. And once Tasha's came out, they're like, okay, now I'm good with being a ranger. Because they kind of wanted to be like a Beastmaster, because it was a fun idea of a class to be, and a great series of movies. And
yeah. Side note, that bat thing eating the person lives rent free in my brain as a horror moment of my childhood, and it will never leave.
That moment has haunted me for the entirety of my life.
Well, I'm glad I could bring that up, but they
Thanks.
wanted to be that.
Now I'm gonna have nightmares about it. My child running around, liquid pile. All right.
The 2014 Beastmaster is abysmal. It is terrible. It's so bad that we played. There was one game we played long ago that we had our party basically. We had a ranger and he had his animal companions, and we had a keep, and there was like a ravine near the keep, and it was just full of all of his dead animal companions because they could never survive a single adventure.
Yeah, they did kind of suck.
It was terrible. But once they saw the options in Tasha's, they're like, oh, okay, you could actually do this. And that actually worked and was a decent aid to the party instead of just like, well, we got in our first fight of the day and already the Ranger's beast is gone.
Yeah, because like honestly, my only other like exposure to Beast Rangers is Rexar from World of Warcraft. He's what I think of and what I use as an explanation for Beast Rangers. And Rexar was cool. To me, his power didn't lie in his beast companions. It lied in the fact that this is just half ogre with two massive axes just hacking people to pieces, Like, sure, the, boar pig was great and the bear was great, but at the end of the day...
There is an issue with this Rangers. They've changed favorite enemy, even from how they had it in Tasha's, where you just got your favorite foe, and you could, had uses where you could go, okay, well, I mark somebody and I can deal some extra damage to them. Effectively, Tasha's was like a non-magical kind of hunter's mark, which was they noted it didn't stack with that, and that was nice. I liked that it was not a spell. Well, no, now it's just you get hunter's mark and you can cast it sometime. You always have it prepared and you can cast it without expending a spell slot.
I hate it so much.
I dislike that they make you rely on this concentration spell.
I think you lose the concentration portion of it.
No, you do not. You still have to concentrate on it, which makes it even worse than that. You have to limit what any other ranger spells you might want that require concentration. You have to decide, am I losing my hunter's mark or am I using this other spell? It sucks. It's terrible and I hate it. And throughout the core class, as you level up, a lot of the features are things that upgrade your hunter's mark, which is them essentially telling you that you should lean on hunter's mark.
That's what at level 13 you don't have to worry about you still have to concentrate, but damage doesn't break it. So
which is great, but it still takes up your concentration and means that you have to limit any of your other ranger spells. Now, maybe they did mention in the spells thing that they have changed some spells that require concentration to not require, and if we find that some of the ranger spells that used to require concentration don't anymore and you don't have a lot of conflicts, it might be okay. But right now it kind of sucks because you know what rangers can cast, which is still pretty cool? Spike growth. Spike growth is an awesome spell.
Yeah.
But
it requires concentration, and that means you can't use your core feature of hunter's mark.
So here's my issue with them giving hunter's mark twice per long rest, and then you get more, I think, as you gain levels or whatever. I have said for many years now that ranger is just a warlock with arrows, and vice versa on the warlock. Warlock is just a ranger with spell casting, attacking. You do Eldritch Blast, you throw Hex. All right, that's what a warlock does. Now with a ranger, you shoot a bow and you hunter's mark. It's the same damn thing for both classes.
It's also a problem in that rangers in some of the subclasses are going to run into this is they have a lot of things that conflict with or that vie for that bonus action. That's why you find with a lot of archer rangers, because they average, the classic ranger is either an archer or a 2-weapon fighter. Those have been the classic rangers since the very beginning when they were first introduced. That used to be the cool thing about rangers, that they used to be in older editions. They were the only people that could do 2-weapon fighting.
Without the negatives, yeah.
Yeah, without the negatives. That was their cool thing, is that they could just always fight with 2 weapons, and that was what made them cool. And they kind of kept that through even 2014 because your fighting style options were pretty limited to archery and 2-weapon fighting, and those were kind of the things that were iconic to the ranger that you're expected to do. And now, you're normally your 2-weapon fighting unless you're playing a weird, weapon mastery dagger master ranger, which is not the kind of not what you typically think of.
Yeah.
I mean,
You got Hunter's Mark.
most of the time I've seen Rangers, it's just a small bump into the Ranger to get Gloomstalker.
Yeah. You got Hunter's Mark that's vying for it. All of your subclasses have things that vie for it, whether it be the Gloomstalker, the Beastmaster who has to command his beast with a bonus action.
Mhm.
So it seems like it's a whole lot saying that the Ranger should basically only fight. I guess you could fight, great weapon or sword and board now because you get all the fighting style options, but it seems to now they're losing that iconic kind of easy access to that 2-weapon fighting that used to be kind of their shtick, and I don't like that.
Yeah. It's weird because, like I said, Rangers always had that weird middle ground to me where, like, you want to look at things like Rexar, like Aragon, even, and so go, okay, that is a Ranger. But what really is he? He's a fighter with wilderness survival skills. Like, he's a noble. He's not a Ranger by any stretch of the imagination, even though people are calling him Ranger. You look at Rexar. He's a Beastmaster through and through. Yeah, he has a lot of wilderness survival skills because he lived in Outland for who knows how long. He can survive in any terrain, but really, he's not a ranger. He's just a big beast stick with pets. Like, I just go back to, like,
they would
it's
move
just a
the
fighter.
Ranger back in that direction of, like, Aragorn should be kind of your standard for, like, okay, if that's your classic iconic fantasy character of a Ranger, like, let's make our Rangers look more like that. Yes, he's a peerless warrior and stuff, but he was skilled in herbs and those things. He knew, like, what to look for to help. He could speak a lot of languages, which is one thing they have incorporated here, which I actually like.
But effectively, to build that, you just play a fighter and you get trained in survival and nature, and you're good to go.
There was, they actually long way back in the day when Unearthed Arcana were articles on the website that were like neat little things that you could add to your game, or they were experimental things. They did a spell-less version of the Ranger that gained the ability to make like herbal concoctions where you could forage the woodlands and you could make different kinds of concoctions from herbs, like little healings like poultices that you could slap on people, poisons that you could apply to your weapons, and a few other like buffs and bonuses, and that was what you had to set up spells.
I love that idea.
Me too. That to me is that Aragorn Ranger, that I have my knowledge of the wilds allows me to make these things. I'm using what I gather around from the world around me to help my allies or enhance my fighting with, those kind of things. That's a cool Ranger, and I would have really loved to see them lean in that direction.
And maybe I don't get eaten by a bear,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I love that version of it. That's what it really should have been.
Yep, agree. But
it really is kind of disappointing when you think about it. Like I said, I mean, I haven't even really gone over what specific.
I know. Yeah, we need to get into the meat of it. So.
Yeah, let's go into the meat of it.
I'll go a quick rundown. So your favorite enemy has become, Hunter's Mark, and you can cast it sometimes without spending a spell slot. You get weapon mastery like all the martial classes. They removed the kind of natural explorer thing because you're already going to get any of one of your ranger skills with expertise. So that kind of replaces that, and you learn they gave you Deft Explorer, which came from Tasha's, but they changed it in that you get expertise in any one of your skills, and you learn 2 languages. That I like. That's thing's neat. They opened up fighting styles, so now you can choose any fighting style that exists, including Druidic Warrior, which gives you 2 Druid cantrips. And so you could actually have
I guess if you want to be a little more spell based.
Yeah, if you want to be more of a spellcastery kind of ranger, you can choose a couple of cantrips. So cool. The 4 subclasses, and we'll get into those later, that are going to be available. I'm glad there's 4, not only 2. Beastmaster, Hunter, Fey Wanderer, and Gloomstalker. Probably the best ones out there, so good choices. The weird primeval awareness that I already told Jay. A weird story of our ranger who had that, where it's the one where you can expend a spell slot, which always sucked because you're expending one of your very few spell slots to just kind of get a sense of, is there some kind of weird creatures anywhere within a mile of me. It was always kind of not really useful, and especially our ranger famously used it in Ravenloft to see if there were any undead within a mile of us.
Yes.
I think they should have just left that ability and then given it something useful to go with it, like giving them the expertise, which is what it's going to do now, I think.
Yeah.
Or that's
at
what
6th
they're
level,
replacing it with, yeah.
Yeah. At 6th level, you get roving, which means your speed increases by 10 feet, and you get a climb and swim speed. I like that. It's
Yeah,
great
can't wear heavy armor to get it though.
Yes, which is good.
Yeah.
Level 9, you get more expertise and 2 additional skills. All good. At level 10, you get tireless, which means you can use your action to gain you a small number of temporary hit points, and whenever you take a short rest, you can reduce your exhaustion level by 1. Which this I actually think is cool because rangers are the class that can do that, and that they can do it on a short rest. I think that's cool for rangers.
Are they still going through with the exhaustion changes? Do we know that?
They haven't said anything about that yet, so we don't know. I
because
think
that's stupid.
My hint, my hint is that no, but they haven't said for sure.
That the whole 10 levels thing with the extra math was so 4E in my opinion. I hated every second of reading that, and I really hope they don't go that way. I don't mind. I don't mind the way it is now. I understand that the complaint is that people don't understand what each rank does, but you just look it up. I mean,
yeah, it's easy.
It's a table that's on every GM screen. It's easy to find, especially if you're online. There's everywhere you can just type the first few letters of exhaustion, and it'll pull it up for you.
It becomes really good because you're getting rid of a massive detriment.
Yes, that's what I said. This feature is a great feature, and I use exhaustion as a DM, and the DMs who I play in their games use exhaustion. So that's a fun, fantastic.
Like the vast majority of games, you're never going to get beyond like exhaustion level 2.
Yes.
And those first 2 are easy to remember. Once you get past that, then I have to look everything up. But the first 2 I know off the top of my head. So.
Yeah. So 13 is you get Relentless Hunter. This is where they damage no longer threatens to break your concentration on Hunter's Mark. So more kind of a feature that relies solely on Hunter's Mark. 14, you get Nature's Veil, which is just you use a bonus action. Here's another bonus action conflict. You can become invisible until the end of your next turn.
I hate that so much. What?
I hate that it's invisible and not.
Yeah, that's what I hate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred is just like literally just you successfully hide.
Yeah.
You as per this hide skill, you just hide. No check, no nothing. You hide.
Yep. Yeah. I don't care if it's magical. I don't care if it's natural. That's irrelevant. It should just be you get to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just getting lost in the fight or whatever. Like I understand the whole haha, I'm hiding in the middle of a battlefield thing. But, part of me is just like, well, you can do that. You can just get lost in the middle of a battlefield and people won't see you.
Yeah, having played enough LARPs and stuff, we all know that you can easily lose track of somebody in a mass combat.
Yeah. So I know it's always funny. It's hard to wrap your head around, and I understand why they probably haven't implemented that yet. But give them something else. Like if you're, if you have any kind of obscurity or shadow, you're hidden automatically, or if you're standing out in the middle of the field and you don't think hidden works, give them an advantage or something, or disadvantage on attacks and advantage on their attacks. Just something simple.
Yeah.
Don't just I hate when D&D just kind of hand waves abilities away by giving spell or spell-like effects, and it just
I agree.
Me.
This is something that didn't. They're doing it because of simplicity, but I don't think it was needed here, and I don't love it.
Yeah, it seems very lazy.
Yes, I agree. Level 17, Precise Hunter. Here's Hunter's Mark showing up again. You get advantage on attack rolls against the creature marked by your Hunter's Mark, which is cool. But by level 17, you probably have a lot of ways to get advantage.
Yeah, you're gonna have advantage most of the time at that point.
Level 18, you get Feral Senses, which just means you have blind sight out to 30 feet, which this one I actually like. I think that's cool for the ranger. It's just you're in tune with your surroundings enough that you can all your senses are, you got the Daredevil sharpened senses, so you can tell what's going on.
See,
Cool.
this is one of those where my preference would have been when they had. I know they used to have a thing like favored terrain, and that is a perfect thing to have with favored terrain. If you are really good in the woods, you get blindside out to 30 or 60 feet at level 18. If you're really good in the desert, you get blindside out to that.
Yeah, I think they're kind of trying to. They did mention they're trying to get them as that rangers are not like tied to a specific place, and that they are wanderers. You're supposed to be somebody that you wander the earth like Kane from Kung Fu, and
yeah, which is, I mean, that's more of the technical definition of what a ranger is.
yes,
but rangers as well have also, within the history of D&D, have also been very similar to druids in the
Yeah.
regard that they are terrain based.
Yep.
So
19, you get your standard epic boon. At 20, you get maybe the worst capstone ability ever to grace D&D. At 20th level, your Hunter's Mark deals an additional D10 damage instead of a D6.
So you get a potential 4 extra damage per attack.
Yeah, but probably an average of 1 or 2 extra damage per attack as your level 20 capstone.
Per your 2 attacks, and maybe you could do 3, I guess.
Maybe
if you're
3
yeah.
if you're pulled off 2 weapon fighting after the first couple rounds of combat where you've set up all your other bonus action nonsense. Yeah, it is terrible. It is abjectly terrible, especially for an ability called Foe Slayer. That's disappointing.
Yeah, especially when like the rogue was getting free crits and shit. Like,
yeah, it is just abjectly disappointing. So that's the base ranger. Is it better than 2014?
No.
Yeah, it is. It is as a class. I think.
I'm going to say no because I think at least the 2014 ranger had a purpose, and that was to make survival encounters non-existent in the terrain that you wanted to have them. This one seems like, why are you playing anything other than a rogue?
Mathematically, this one is better, but it doesn't do anything. It's just
I like that it doesn't just automatically turn off exploration encounters, but instead encourages you to actually kind of use your expertise in your skills to help your party, and whether you narratively or stuff. I think that'll I think the exploration pillar is probably the pillar that needs the most help in D&D, but maybe there's some stuff to solve that in the DMG. Who knows?
I mean, you're not wrong, and I don't know. After playing Monster Slayer, and playing through that and in a whole campaign, I didn't feel like there was any problems with that class as it was. And
that's because you were using all the Tasha's upgrades.
I was using all the Tasha stuff. Yeah, I was using all the Tasha stuff.
That's exactly what our ranger in our Ravenloft game was, a monster hunter ranger using all the Tasha stuff, and because of that, they had a good time doing it.
Right. So for them to kind of come through and try to fix the ranger, but just end up just falling face first on the ground, that's what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like it's any better than.
I kind of agree. I think they could have just taken the things they've done in Tasha's and just say, hey, we've made that the official ranger now. Instead of these optional things that is just the ranger, all the stuff we came up with in Tasha's, it's now there.
So if I were to include the Tasha's as a 2014 ranger, it definitely is better. Because at least then you still have stuff to do. And
yeah. That I would agree with. But I'm just talking, the base PHB 2014 ranger is garbage. It is a garbage class, and both of its subclasses are garbage as well.
They all can't be winners, but
nope. But it sucks when all of your options are losers.
Yeah. Well, just go fight her with archery and pick the appropriate feats to make you a ranger. It honestly probably will work better still.
So to get into subclasses, I guess we'll go through. There's the Beastmaster, which they're like, this is effectively a brand new subclass, and if I mean it's effectively the Tasha's Beastmaster, then That's basically what it is. It is a Tasha's Beastmaster. So if you've played the Beastmaster and Tasha's, you have played this subclass, essentially.
All right.
They said they've made a few kind of improvements to I guess even more tweak up the beast a little bit, and make the little differences around Beast of the Land, Sea and Air a little bit more different. But it's essentially it's the Tasha Beastmaster. I guess the only cool thing, I don't know if this was in Tasha's or not, but the thing they mentioned is that your beast gets to also benefit from your Hunter's Mark, which makes Hunter's Mark actually really cool for the Beastmaster.
Yeah,
Because when you can damage your foe and get that extra Hunter's Mark damage, and then your beast, which eventually can also attack twice around, can damage your foe and use Hunter's Mark, that becomes really good then.
well, and you have to use your bonus action to make the beast attack, right?
You did in Tasha's, so if they haven't changed that, then
okay. So it effectively makes you it makes you about as good using the beast as it would without using it.
So, well, no, it's better because you got to have some setup time because you got to cast your Hunter's Mark, and then your next turn you can command your beast. But that next turn, when you're commanding your beast, you can also attack and it can attack, so you're getting in those extra.
Right, you get your 2 attacks, and if your beast has 2 attacks at that point, it gets those. So you get effectively 1 extra attack that way.
Yeah. So that's Beastmaster.
Yeah, potentially triggering your 1d6 4 different times, or if you're high level 1d10 4 times.
Yeah, it makes Hunter's Mark probably as a Beastmaster is probably worth it as your concentration spell because you're going to trigger it enough
often,
to get a lot more damage out of it than just you using it. So, especially at higher levels where your beast is attacking twice. Fey Wanderer is the Fey Wanderer. They basically said that it didn't really get any changes. So it was always a good subclass. So it's still in there. I mean, I'm glad. That was one I actually really liked for the Ranger.
Yeah, the one thing they say that did change is you always have Summon Fey memorized at level 9 instead of Dispel Magic.
Yeah, they changed the
so they're illusion mages now.
Yes, the spell list a little bit. So yeah, they're illusion mages. Still, Gloomstalker.
It got some tweaks or nerfs.
Probably good. It still has its ultimate. It still has its really cool thing, which is at 3rd level. Is all you had to get the best feature. One of the best features in the game anywhere is that creatures that rely on dark vision cannot see you with that dark vision.
Yeah,
just flat out cannot see you.
It was broken initially. It is still if they keep that, it is still incredibly broken.
They did keep that. They mentioned that they kept that, so it is still incredibly broken.
We were playing in a campaign that was called the Maw, a homebrew game, and it was nighttime everywhere. The whole campaign. So all the undead couldn't see the Gloomstalker that was running around murdering them the entire campaign.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We have a Gloomstalker in our game, and they often run around with the, security of nothing can see me because we're playing Icewind Dale, and it is, usually dim light at best.
Twilight, yeah.
Yeah, so that they are almost always in that things that you have to use dark vision and can't see them, and they have run around to great effect, into comedic effect once, where they assumed that something couldn't see them except it had blindsided to just maul them.
that did happen a couple of times, yeah.
As they confidently exclaimed, "Don't worry, this thing can't see me," and then immediately got mauled.
Yeah, I loved pissing the character off because I would constantly have light running, so they always had to be outside of the light spell.
Yeah. No, or the one time where you run into that warlock that's just like, I have devil sight, I do not care.
Yep.
Welcome to Blast Town.
But the other thing the thing they did change that really needed to be changed was they got rid of the extra attack on the first round.
Yes. That was bad because it was at 3rd level, so it made it real easy to take, not too hard to take, especially if you're going to run a long-term campaign that was going to get high level, to take 3 levels of Ranger, then go Fighter, and then be like, man, that first round attack, I get 4 attacks, and then I action surge.
Yeah, I saw it a lot with Rogue, and then they'd have
Yeah.
three levels of Ranger just for Gloomstalker. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, so they did change that. It's nice. I think it's a overall a good change for them because it was a little overblown for that. But the fact that they get a dreadful strike that deals psychic damage a number of times per day that they can use to deal extra damage just when they choose to. And at higher levels, they can use that to actually frighten creatures, which is a great status effect and kind of makes sense for their kind of class.
yeah,
So
yeah, I don't care if all that stuff's at higher level. It just shouldn't be at level 3.
yeah, I kind of wish they had taken the whole like can't see me with dark vision to a higher level because Rangers get a level 7 ability, and I think I would have been fine with it at level 7 because that makes it not a dip thing. That if you're playing a Ranger to play a Ranger up to level 7, like you're not likely to multi-class after that.
Yes. Yeah,
So
other than 2 levels of fighter.
yeah, but that would have been okay. But the fact that 3 levels is pretty easy to dip in to get that sweet you can't see me feature.
Yep. The John Cena class.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm looking at this. They could take Foe Slayer, their capstone ability. They could move it to like level 10, and it still wouldn't be as broken as it is. Like the Rangers would still be overall shitty.
Yeah, exactly.
And there'd be
no
more
one would
Warlock now
blink an
since it's
eye,
force damage.
no one would blink an eye if that was a level 10 ability. That would be like, yeah, that seems fine.
Oh,
But at
cool! You
level-
are a Warlock. You're
Oh yeah,
doing
that,
force damage.
yeah, that was the other thing I was going to bitch about. Was it doing force damage?
Yeah,
Just more like the Warlock.
yeah.
Yeah, it's still very clear that to me that they are unsure of what to do with Ranger as a separate class.
Which
When
baffles me because they had it in Unearthed Arcana.
like I can't tell someone to go Ranger other than saying, "Hey, you really just want to go Fighter or Rogue."
I think they were afraid to make too drastic of changes because, like, the Unearthed Arcana Ranger as a base spellless Ranger, they were like it was a really cool option and has been pretty popular. I know a lot of games like people still bring it up on in places in Reddit and YouTube talking about like that they love that Ranger because you could still easily do okay. Well, we're gonna do a base spellless Ranger, and this is something like Level Up 5e did was a base spellless Ranger, but then sometimes you can have a subclass that gets spells, and
Yeah,
that would be fine.
that's what they should have done. You could even have multiple subclasses that get spells.
Yes.
But the core class, I really feel it should have been spellless.
Yes, I agree completely. You could have easily done like, okay, we're going to keep the Hunter and Beastmaster spellless because those seem like classes that you don't really need spells. You're a wild warrior, but you could have taken your Gloomstalker and your Fey Wanderer and say, hey, these are 2 that are going to get some spells. We're going to give you some kind of shadowy and illusion spells for the Gloomstalker, and we're going to give you illusion and enchantment spells for the Fey Wanderer, and that would have been great.
Yeah.
Or here's my thought: get rid of Ranger entirely. Introduce the Ranger subclass to the Fighter, Rogue, and Druid, and then do that. So now the Gloomstalker stuff goes to Ranger, the no spell archery shit goes to the Fighter, and all the spell casting animal companion shit goes to the Druid, and you didn't need a Ranger anymore.
I mean,
now it's just a subclass.
Yeah, and that would have worked fine, I think, as well.
Yeah, I could have
Because
I've actually created a subclass for the fighter that has a lot of the ranger stuff for. I have some stuff I'm on a slow burn working on for like a homebrew Dark Sun campaign, and Dark Sun is very low magic. There's not a lot of spellcasting classes, so I knew I was going to take ranger out, but I wanted to give a couple of classes that kind of wildlands, wastelands, kind of survivalist stuff. So that's what I did as a homebrew was take for a fighter and for a rogue, give them.
Are you
both
saying
ranges.
Mad Max was a Ranger?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Furiosa's a Ranger? Are you sure?
The last subclass was Hunter. It's supposed to be. This is all right because they tell you it's supposed to be the low magic Ranger, even though it is not any more low magic than any other.
Yeah, it
Ranger.
still has all the same spells.
Still has all the same thing. but this is your standard, of course, that you see in a lot of classes. This is your rangery ranger. If you want to be more ranger in your ranger, you choose the hunter. They the cool thing they did was that at a couple of levels, at several levels in the hunter class, you got an array of 3 options you could choose for, and you used to be kind of locked into them. And there was clearly always like
one
in every one of them, there was only one that was good. There was literally you got 3 options, but there was only one good answer in each of them. They said they've tweaked the ones so that they would all be good answers, and more to the point, the good thing about it is now you don't have to choose. You can switch it up whenever you want. So you can kind of use it as, if you're prepping to go into a fight, whenever you're taking a rest, you can choose which option you want to use.
I mean, yeah, I'm down with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
And also, if at level 3 you're hunters, you get hunter's lore. Anything that has hunter's mark on it, its immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities.
Yay, more hunter's mark reliance.
Yeah. And
I think you did. There's no reason that you had to tie that to hunter's mark. You could have just given the ability and say, hey, you can choose a foe, and then you could learn something about it.
I really don't like anything straight up knowing immunities, resistance, and vulnerabilities of stuff. I would much rather people find that out through doing it.
Yeah, I'm always good with one thing I've kind of run with is sometimes is that you can make a check and you can learn like one cool thing, like, so you can, and I'll give you a choice of like, this thing has resistances, immunities, and vulnerabilities. What do you want to learn about? And you get to pick one, and you learn one.
Yeah.
So like, you might be, if you were fighting a level, you could make your check and go, okay, I want to learn what they're immune to, and I want to learn one of their immunities. I can tell you they're immune to fire damage. And that's all. That's what you would learn.
Yeah,
like not all of them. The one.
Like if you have divination spells, that's one thing. But yeah, just to have it on your cool little ability that you always have now, it seems it seems lazy.
Yep. Agree.
Yep. So let's move on to the brand new class for 2024. Never before seen, the monk.
This one, I
haven't read
anything
on this one. I know nothing about the changes for it.
So the monk has always been popular since it's been introduced. The idea of the kind of fisticuffs martial artist has always been popular. It hasn't necessarily been good. The 2014 monk was not great.
Last time I played a monk was 3rd edition or 3.5. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, same. The 5e monk was not great. Its subclasses were not particularly well regarded either, with the exception of the Way of Shadow.
Yeah, you were there to stunning strike and nothing else.
Yeah. In our experience, I am playing in a game currently with a monk, and they are not enthused with their class, especially now that we've gotten to like the mid-level of the game. We're all level like 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And they were cool for a little while, and then quickly realized like, wow, I just kind of tickle things, and if it makes it stunning strike or it can't be stunned, I am not very useful.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this comes back to the issue of when you're trying to make a unique class that essentially does what the fighter or rogue already does. It's really hard to find that niche and fit in there. But we can go over to the things and see.
It's kind of a classic thing. Like, this is the weird part of like, okay, where you're taking, especially the way they're presenting the monk is you're very Asian, Eastern fantasy kind of inspired thing, and they're throwing it into like a swords and sorcery Western fantasy kind of game, which is always kind of a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can go over the kind of the start of it. I think one of the biggest things we found, and I have found this to be true in our home game, is that your monk one of the things they suffer from is they don't hit that hard, and they don't have a lot of hit points. but you got to be close to do your cool monk stuff because you are fighting with fisticuffs.
Yeah.
So and we have seen this numerous times in my games, is you run up, you do a bunch of punches that don't do very much damage, and then the thing looks at you because you tried to stun it, and it hits you a couple times with a great sword or a big attack, and you go, uh-oh, I don't have much more damage, much more hit points than the wizard, and I fall down. And if you can't, things that you can't stun, like, heaven forbid you are fighting undead or golems or other things that do not care about stun, and you are the tickler.
The tickler. All right.
So, the changes they went to martial arts. You start at a D6 instead of a D4, which is good. Now you doing a D4 for several levels was not great.
Yeah, now you hit as hard as any other normal class.
Yeah.
So a quick caveat on this. All right, I played a Minotaur monk. All right. And essentially, with the Minotaur, one of the things they could do is they could change up their horns, which was a D6 and scaled up, in place of an unarmed attack. Okay. And because I was playing a monk Minotaur, I could then, for my unarmed attack, also use my dex in place of strength. So I was basically a Minotaur just using my horns, and I was murdering everything, man. I was killing everything, like up to like level 5. Just nothing could stop me because I could do flurry of blows and hit you with my horns like 7 times. It's that Dragon Ball Z Frieza impaling Krillin scene all over again, and just like nearly unstoppable. So I see this and I go, that's pretty good. It might be a little too good, but I don't think they ran any math calculations, so who knows?
I think the D6 is fine. Like you were getting the benefit of being able to at lower levels deal the damage that would take monks to get up to mid-level to do because you already had horns. When you're just playing your standard human monk or whatever, doing a D4 is not great. Even if you get to do it multiple times, if your attacks hit. And monks always have the thing of they got to kind of try to decide I don't have a ton of hit points, so I got to balance my stats between dex, which is what I use to do attack and damage, and then constitution, because that gives me more hit points and the ability to stand up a little longer, and wisdom, because I don't wear armor and I can't wear armor, so I need dex and wisdom if I want to have any sort of armor class.
Yeah, they always had 3 stats that were super important, and you're never going to have enough points to go around unless you just rolled really good or something.
Yeah.
So the bump up to D6 is great. It's also they have revealed that when you are making an unarmed attack, you can choose to either deal damage, grapple, or shove. Those are all now tied to unarmed attacks,
which isn't terrible.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to do is hold on to somebody.
Yeah, as a monk, probably not, because again, you are a little bit fragile. They did change. They've changed the thing from key to discipline. I guess they're trying to sort of get away from
lose the Asian flair, I guess.
But not really, because the whole class is still around martial arts. So, and it's still called monk, so that's still weird. I don't know why they made that change. I don't think, unless you were going to change the name of the class.
Yep. If you named it Brawler or something, then all right.
Yeah, or do what like Level Up 5e did. They just call it Adept. Yeah, and then that you are, and they use discipline because you are, and then they have stuff that is not necessarily, you can spec into the subclasses that are your Eastern flavor and that kind of monk, or you can be like a boxer and brawler, kind of monk that isn't about that sort of like mystical lifestyle, and you're just about hitting real hard with your fists.
Listen, as long as I have my JoJo monk, I'm happy.
So they did upgrade your kind of steps, your kind of things you get at second level with your flurry of blows, patient defense, and step of the winds. That now with first of all, one of the great things they do is anytime you can always, as a monk, use a bonus action to make an unarmed attack. It used to be tied to you had to take the attack action in order to be able to use that. Now it's just there as an option for you as a monk, because you're a monk. You can bonus action unarmed attack,
which makes sense, because pretty much any class could already do it if they had a weapon in that hand. So
yes, and that is kind of giving that to the monk, which is great because it goes well with some of their other stuff. Patience defense. Some of these things don't require them to use their discipline or key points. You can disengage as a bonus action for free, or if you spend a focus point, you can disengage and dodge as a bonus action. So you get to disengage and dodge combined.
And
Step of the wind.
That right there is going to make the monk so much more survivable.
Yes, it is. Step of the wind, you can dash as a bonus action for free, or if you do spend a token voice, you get to disengage and dash both at the same time, which is great for that. That's great for that. This allows you to do the thing where you spend all your movement to run up to somebody and hit them, and now you don't have any movement left because disengage doesn't give you any movement; it just allows you to move away. This gives them the movement of the dash action, so they can run up, hit, and then run out, and now they can do that sort of spring attack kind of thing that you used to be able to do.
So you just get patient defense at level 2.
Yes, at level 2 you get patient defense, step of the wind, and flurry of blows. Flurry of the blows is unchanged. It just means if you spend focus, instead of making one unarmed attack with your bonus action, you can make 2 unarmed attacks.
Yeah, like this could actually be very frustrating for certain combats, especially if you have a bunch of focus points, because monks are already going to outrun just about every class in the game, speed-wise. So run in, hit, disengage, run away, and just do it until you're out of focus points.
I'm just thinking of
because monks are never going to have a lot of armor class, because it depends on both their dex and their wisdom, and they can't wear armor because as soon as they put on even a piece of leather armor, they lose all of their abilities.
Yeah, I'm not poo-pooing on this. Like, I like that. I'm just saying there might be some fights where it becomes kind of painful for the DM.
Yes, this will make the monk much more survivable and viable in certain fights. They get also at level 2, they get the new feature of uncanny metabolism, which is once per long rest, you can just, when you roll initiative, you regain all your focus points, which is good because monks don't get a lot of focus points, and they did not improve the amount of focus points that you get.
Yeah, effectively, it's 1 less than your level, I think.
Yeah, so this will allow you to more freely use them, because you definitely run into situations playing with a monk now. I can see all the time where I run into fights where they're like, I don't know how many fights we're going to be in today, and I don't want to use any of my focus points. I don't want to use any of my key points because I don't know if I'm going to need them later, and they're constantly in this agony of, should I use key points or not?
Yep.
At level 3, you get deflect attacks, which is changed from deflect missiles. Now you can deflect any sort of ranged or melee attack that deals bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage.
Okay.
You can use it, as your reaction without spending any discipline points. If you choose to spend a focus point, I don't know. It says focus here. I don't know if it's focus.
It says if you reduce the damage to 0, you can use a focus point to redirect the attacks.
Yeah, basically you can hit somebody that's next to them.
And they changed it because it used to be like a weird calculation of how much damage it would do. They just changed the damage you do to be based on you get 2 rolls of your martial arts dice plus your dex modifier whenever you redirect an attack with that.
And cool. How many times can you do that, or is it just your
reaction? So it's whenever you can use your reaction, but the redirecting attack takes a focus point, so you're spending focus to redirect.
But at low levels, that's going to be brutal.
Yeah, because it is brutal, because they already have it in the game currently in 2014, and it's fucking horrible. Like you have 2, like what is it? I can't remember what the feat is, but people take it at level 1 now. I had a game where I had 2 players basically with reach weapons. I couldn't deal any damage to anybody because it just used a reaction. And every time there's a hit, reflected all that. It's gone.
Now you add a bard and a wizard in there with a.
It's only on ranged attacks right now for a monk.
So it says no longer limited to ranged weapon attacks.
It is in this new version. The current monk is only ranged attacks.
Yeah, so that's
I will say plenty of times our current monk just chooses not to do it because they need their key to flurry of blows and stunning strike. and you don't get a whole lot, and they don't have a lot of ways to regain them.
Yeah, but with the new one, this seems like it might be a problem.
And we have in our group, we have no fighters or warlocks, and so anytime they are the one constantly asking for a short rest, and we're just like, no, we're all good. Let's keep going. So you get your the 4 subclasses are they've now changed it instead of way of, it's warrior of. I don't know why, but whatever.
What the? That makes no sense.
I don't know why. I
A
don't know
warrior's
why
a fighter. Back to my
Yeah.
previous point.
Yeah.
or fighter should be a warrior, because fighter is a weird name, but it's just classic D&D. But either way, they changed it to warrior of is going to be the nomenclature for whatever reason. It's warrior of mercy, warrior of shadow, warrior of the elements, and warrior of the open hand. 5th level, you get stunning strike. They did change this, and this is a great change that I'm glad. Stunning strike you can only use once per turn.
Yeah,
That was the stupid thing about monks, is because they're flurry of blows and extra attack, you could run in and you could stun, 4 creatures in one turn if you wanted to.
or just keep trying.
Or keep trying until you if you wanted to focus on that one big bad that was not immune to stun, you got 4 attempts and you had to make them make 4 saves, and it was obnoxious.
I'm going to be a little bit contrarian here, but I didn't mind a monk running in and stunning striking multiple people. It was the attempts on one person over and over and over again that bothered me.
Yep.
That's what definitely bothered our DM that had the monk, because they made this cool villain, and our monk ran up there and double attacked, flurry of blowed, and they had to make 4 saves, and they finally failed one, and they were stunned, and then we killed them in 1 round. And that was the big villain, and that was
the big issue. If you had 1 stunning strike per creature or opponent per round, I'm fine with that. That way you can get in there, jump in the fray, and Jackie Chan 5 guys, and then be good. They're all stunned. Like, I'm okay with that. But blowing through all the legendary resistances because you can't be stunned through 1 turn was just bullshit.
Yep.
Pretty sure I had that happen to a dragon I was running before. So.
Yeah. That was the problem.
It was a common. That was the big problem. It was a common problem. Is that you could easily go in there and do that.
So they overcorrected it.
The good thing is that even on a successful save, the target is speeder. Their speed is halved, and the next attack against them has advantage. So even if you fail the save, there's some benefit to you and your party.
All right.
I still don't like that it should have been higher level. I think level 5 is a little low, but
for a stunning strike,
that's like a 10th level ability in my opinion. But
you compare it to Fireball.
I think they give it. I think it's fine at low. I think they give it low because they know not lots of games go super high level, and they want it to be something you can use. But anyway. I see the argument here. Next one is they get empowered strike also at 5th level. It's their unarmed strikes can now deal force damage instead of bludgeoning damage.
More shit.
Which is weird, but monks are already mystical and doing weird supernatural things.
Just
so
call it magical damage and fucking.
It used to be magical damage, but for some reason
everything is force damage now. Like every fucking thing is force damage.
Everything is fucking force damage.
Yeah, I don't know.
They've made this perfect ability that nothing fucking stops. So let's just give it to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. I don't know why they're making this change of getting rid of magical damage and changing it to force instead. It's not a thing that I love, but that seems to be happening. At 10th, they get heightened focus. It improves their flurry of blows, patient defense, and step of the bend. When they expend a focus point, flurry of blows, you get 3 attacks instead of 2. Patient defense grants you temporary hit points. Step of the Winds allows you to move somebody with you when you use it, which I think is cool.
That's cool. I like that ability.
Yeah, I do too. I think that one is really cool. That's my buddy is down and I'm going to grab them and Step of the Wind and bolt and disengage and dash back to the cleric. Or I'm going to move somebody up with me to attack because I'm a monk and I have high dex and I go fast, but I want to get my slower fighter up here to the fight. So either way.
So 3rd edition, we used to do it all the damn time because we had the giant barbarian. But if I was higher in initiative or whatever, I would dimension door him into the fight.
Yes.
Just get him up there, and then I would back the hell out. But yeah, I like monks being able to do that with this.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's a really cool feature.
And I know they say one willing creature, but at the same time, all it takes is a charm spell to make a creature willing.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you're running that owlbear out of the cave and pushing it off the cliff.
Hey,
Yep.
cool.
A little side
Oh.
note about that: I was watching Games Done Quick, and someone was speed running Baldur's Gate 3, and they essentially took their person and did this to Gortash when you first meet him in Act 3, and pretty much found a way to
watch for spoilers now, because
I am.
Yeah.
So you first encounter him. He's not anything yet. They found a way to trick the game into letting you move him, and they moved him out, took him out of his keep, put him on the bridge, and pushed him off the bridge. So they basically cut like a third of the game out just by like, oh, I can move this guy now. So yeah, just one charm spell, the big bads. Allow us one next move to go, and all of a sudden you're ripping this guy, I don't know, 1,000 feet because he's a monk at the end of the day. It's going to be a Tabaxi monk, because Tabaxi monks. And all of a sudden you're just pushing him off a bridge and you're winning the game.
I mean, in Solasta, as a dwarf, I did manage to move 240 feet in one round, I think, as a paladin. So,
yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. Also at level 10, you get Self-Restoration, which just removes the charmed, frightened, or poisoned condition from you at the end of your turn. No action, bonus action, or anything required. It just, at the end of your turn, those conditions go away.
Why is it traditionally that these things that take away charm, frightened, and stuff are so high level? Like the paladin gets it, but it's super high. The fighter gets it, but it's super high.
Because it's a good thing that there's a lot of stuff at lower levels that can do it, and it makes sense. Like you're graduating at 10th level, you're graduating from adventure school, and like now you're a hero, and so you don't have to be scared of stuff as much. That's why lower levels they want stuff. You're still kind of D&D is the more traditional power fantasy. You are a nobody at first level. It's not one of those games where at first level you're starting out and you're already somebody. You're a hero. You're a capable guy.
In 2024, they want you to start at 3. So
they said they're giving you the option to. They're not suggesting you start.
Oh, I saw the video. Jeremy was like, "You start at 3, or else I'll come into your house."
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I'm already watching you sleep.
Once again, Chris is wrong about things, but
he's saying, "I'm going to take your 2014 books away from you. You have to play 2014, 2024."
Yeah, he's coming to get them.
Chris Perkins will not sneak into your house and steal your 2014 books unless you piss him off. Then he will.
Chris Perkins is awesome.
Chris Perkins isn't real. He can't hurt you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, he can. All the Chris's are real.
The other half of that self-restoration is going without food or drink doesn't cause exhaustion, because now you're meditate on a mountaintop kind of monk.
That should be level 1. That's the beginning monk school. You have to be able to not eat for 9 days straight. I watched Kill Bill.
You're level 10.
I saw how this worked.
Nobody at Kill Bill was level 1.
Okay, fair enough.
That's true.
Yeah. At level 13, you get Deflect Energy, which means Deflect Attack now applies to all damage types, as long as it requires an attack roll, obviously.
Yeah. At level 13, I don't care.
Yeah, at that level, that's fine. That's kind of neat that your monks are obviously a mystical class. They're not a normal class. So yeah, I think that's neat. You can deflect or just kind of parry the damage off if you don't want to throw it back at them. But
does it require an attack roll?
It has to require an attack roll. Yeah, deflect attacks works on things that requires that is a attack.
Yes.
So if you get fireballed, you cannot reflect that damage. If you get fire bolted or eldritch blast, you can.
Okay.
Level 15, you get perfect focus. If you don't use uncanny metabolism and have fewer than 4 focus points, you start at 4 focus points whenever you roll initiative.
That's okay.
Yeah. Great. At high level, you can feel free to use your focus points frequently and not have to worry about it as much. Cool.
The level of the game where you're getting like one encounter in a session.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on this high level stuff because it doesn't matter. Level 18, you get Superior Defense. You can spend 3 focus points at the start of your team to gain resistance to all damage except for force for 1 minute. Okay. Level 19 is Epic Boom, like all level 19s are now. And Body and Mind at level 20, you increase your Wisdom and Dex by 4 each up to a maximum of 25.
Because why not at that level?
Yeah, at that level, why not? It doesn't matter. Everything is silly.
Everything is
So,
silly.
Yeah.
All right. Now, did they keep the subclass that is the proper subclass for all monks?
What is that?
The one that basically made you into a JoJo character.
I don't know what JoJo is.
Yeah,
So.
Where you could create a spirit form of yourself and you could punch things really hard with the
If you
spirit
mean
thing.
Way of the Astral Self, that is not one of the classes appearing in the core rulebook.
All right, this is shit. Let's move on.
So you got Warrior of Mercy, which was from Tasha's, and they basically said it's the same. It was really good at Tasha's. It's still really good. It's the same. You can heal or harm. You get, so this one is no different. Warrior of the Elements, however, has changed a lot. This is their reimagining of the Way of the Four Elements, which was terrible.
That was my favorite monk class.
It was the idea of it was my favorite, but it was awful because it was
I didn't play it. I never played any of them. It was just
I
my
could
favorite
spend
one.
all of my focus points to cast a selection of not very good wizard spells and do them poorly because I'm already using wisdom, which is I need to have some as monk, but it's not my primary ability score. So I'm like, yeah, it was never good. But this is their reimagining of it. So you start off with you can spend some focus and you can choose to kind of attune to one of the elements, and that your unarmed strikes change to that damage type of depending on the element. I think it's thunder, fire,
acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder.
Yeah, so you choose the one of the elements, and your reach for the arm strike increases by 10 feet. So you're avataring, blasts of elemental energy out at a short range at people.
Yeah. You can push or pull targets 10 feet on failed save. On top of that, you learn the elementalism cantrip, and as you level up, you'll get the ability to create area of effect elemental bursts.
Yeah, at level 6, you get your you can spend a magic action. So this is taking your action to have it's a range of 120 feet, and you create a 20-foot radius sphere explosion.
Fireball, basically.
Basically, you cast fireball of whatever element you choose to cast.
Yeah.
From whatever.
That version sounds infinitely more playable.
Yes, this is a nice development. You get to use the different elements. It kind of feels like you're in Avatar, basically.
Yep.
I mean, they reference Avatar in the write-up, so it's
which I'm not sad about because that is one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah.
Right. So what I don't understand is why. So definitely, this is your Avatar monk. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. I have no gripes with that. But why would you get rid of the Dragon Ball Z monk? Get rid of the JoJo monk, who are two popular franchises.
I don't know what those are.
The Astral Self and the was it Radiant Soul, Sun Soul monk?
They didn't get rid of it.
It's not get rid of. It's that for the core book, they're choosing 4 for each class.
Right. So why not choose the 4 that match up to what people are watching? DBZ is Dragon Ball is hotter than it's ever been, so why don't you double down and recreate Sun Soul so it's even better and more DBS?
Yeah, they're not very D&D monk-esque. Warrior of the Open Hand is your very traditional monk. The Warrior of Shadow has been around for forever. Like the Darkness monks have a long history in D&D.
And they did those 2 because those 2 appeared in the 2014 book, so they wanted to carry the 2 subclasses that came in that book over and revamp them a little bit. So they get those 2, and then they picked Warrior of the Elements. The Way of the Elements has always been a popular as an idea, but it was just never good, and so they really wanted to make that. And then Warrior of Mercy is statistically, the most popular of the other subclasses remains. I like Astral Self. I wish that Astral Self had been one of the ones they chose to bring.
I was really hoping they would fix Sun Soul because it worked on paper. It just didn't work math wise.
I think they didn't because it's a weird one from a Forgotten Realms book, and so they did not bring that over. Same way where when we eventually talk about bards, I hate the College of Valor, but I wish the College of Swords had come over. It's way more interesting.
Mm.
But yeah, Warrior Element's much better now. It's actually going to be good.
All right, Warrior Shadow.
Warrior Shadow. They kept most of the stuff. They did some improvements of that. When you use your focus, you could always use key points to cast darkness. Problem was in 2014, you can't see through the darkness you cast.
Yeah,
so
I
you
know.
just
Darkness
blind
sucks.
yourself. Now you can. Whenever you use your focus points to cast darkness, you can see through it,
and
which
it
is
moves.
great.
And it moves with you.
Yes. Well, yeah. Or you can move it around.
Yeah. Sorry.
But if you cast it, you're casting a spell. If you cast it on something you're carrying, it'll just move around with you anyways because it's like the spell.
Right.
That's how I TPK'd a party one time.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Shadow Steps are the same. At level 11, you get Improved Shadow Step, which is now when you use it and spend a focus point, you do not have to start or end your teleport in dim light or darkness. You just get shadowy teleport all the time now.
So, a side note on this. All right. I had a player at Adventures League basically fight the big bad for my campaign that I was running. And he was playing a Monk of Shadow, okay, the 2014 version, I think. And we kept Shadow teleporting all over the place. Now, the Shadow itself was generated by the Jabberwock, who is the big bad for the campaign, who is a shadow-infused Jabberwock, like how dragons can become shadow dragons. That's essentially what happened to this Jabberwock. So the shadow is of him. He is of the shadow. And all the kobolds, the Bandersnatch kobolds that I had from the campaign, would live in the shadow and pop out of the shadow and attack. So when he would hide in the shadow, he's pretty much just hiding inside the Jabberwock. And so they always knew where he was because they were just like, he was just bumbling around inside the shadows that they were making, It's
like Frodo with the ring on.
Right. That's kind of, I felt really bad because he looked really confused. Like, why are they finding me? I was just like, you haven't been a part of this campaign long enough to know that these things really are the shadow. I felt really bad. I did explain it to him. It's like, these guys are generating the shadow that you're standing in, and I felt bad about it, but it was annoying to fight against him because he was just teleporting everywhere, but my guys could do the same thing. So technically it wasn't that bad. But I did feel bad though. For a little bit.
Yeah. So you get improved at level 11, but that's nice. That high level do it. Level 17, they improved Cloak of Shadows. You turn invisible. You can become partially incorporeal. Pass through occupied spaces as if they were difficult terrain, and you can use your flurry of blows while you're like this
without
spending focus.
That's really good, but it's also level 17, so that's okay.
But it also, I see, so I don't know how much it matters. But either way, Shadow was always the best of the monks, and they just kind of gave you the key improvement was that one at level 3 of you can see through the darkness that you create.
Yeah.
Which was always kind of weird that you would create darkness and be like, well, I can't see either.
I love the darkness, but I'm blind.
Yeah.
And
I like that they actually specifically
molded by it.
Give you the blanket ability to see through all darkness and magical darkness. They just gave you the ability to see through yours.
I mean, that's fine. I think at a higher level, they should give you the ability to see through any of it.
I'd just give them blind sight, honestly.
Yeah.
Fuck seeing through darkness and all this shit. Give them blind sight. That makes so much more sense. Like, I don't know why fighters don't get that in different things, and rogues don't get. I think one of the rogues did get blind sight.
One of them does, and what the ranger does eventually. So there are some things that will. The last one is the warrior, the open hand. This is the monkey monk. If you just want to
monk.
This is the monkey monk. If you're just here to punch people, and now you punch people more.
Here, I'll be right back,
Do
guys.
you also throw bananas?
Yeah, but It's
What's this
mostly
have
the
to do about
same.
monkeys?
It's mostly the same. You get a new feature called Fleet Step. It's whenever you take a bonus action to do anything other than Step of the Wind, you could also use Step of the Wind, essentially. So you can always be bouncing around the battlefield like a madman.
I like the Quivering Palm where they rebalance it. It costs 4 focus points and does 10d12 force damage. It's a lot of damage.
It is. Their whole thing was that people would pull it off because you could use it on anything and it just automatically reduced it to 0 hit points. So now
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, it was at level 17, so it was only. But I guess if you are at level 17, the kind of things you're facing, it's like it seems weird to wander up to like Thor and be like, I hit you with the Quivering Palm.
Yeah.
And I know lots of people are complaining about this, but no, man. When you're running if you're running a high level game as a DM, first of all, kudos to you because those are not easy to run. Everything takes longer at high levels, and so if you're actually running a game and you want to give it some sort of stakes at a high level, anything which just takes the big bad and immediately negates them there's no drama to that. There's no fun to that. It's boring. Bad design.
Yeah, I guess. But we all love killing the big bad in one turn. So much fun.
You know what? I don't think that's true. I've had a couple of games where they were able to kind of punk the big bad, and no one really thought it was fun. They were all just kind of like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's it then." Like there was not a lot of joy around it. They just kind of all felt like a little let down that the big bad guy they had spent 2 years in a campaign fighting up to got punked.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I just kind of did that at level 9, even with the Jabberwock, and like its starting hit points is 150.
Mm-hmm.
And like, all right, I give you a Vorpal Sword, so it's taking double damage already. Like that 150 is really just 75.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand losing a fight that fast, but
Yeah. But
I don't know.
that was
I
it.
like
Like
killing a big bad in one turn. That's just me though.
my party did not rejoice. It was kind of a letdown. They were looking for this has been, like I said, a 2-year campaign. They were looking for, an epic fight. And there was nothing epic about that fight.
Yep.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right.
They want the payoff for all the work.
Yes. Yes. When you fight hard and it's rough and and you're at that verge of like that knife's edge of victory or defeat and then you win, that feels good. So
What if
that's
you
the monk.
lose? Sorry, guys. It's actually a 4-year campaign.
All right. Well, we're
Cleric time.
We're running pretty long here.
Do we just want to call it here?
Yeah, let's actually call it here. Yeah, it's actually probably a good start. I mean, Cleric's got a lot of changes. We've been doing 3, but
there's definitely some stuff to discuss about Cleric.
Yeah. There is, yeah. The Cleric is one of them I did listen to a lot of, and there is a lot to talk about.
I will say though, it's just that I still don't think they know what to do with Rangers and monks. They have a niche somewhere. They just need to have more subclasses than what they do. Like they really kind of need to have 4 more that kind of let them fit the campaign setting that you're in. Because
you'll get more. They've just got
I understand that. But
I think wizards and clerics are the only ones who should have had more in the book.
Yeah, they really got hit by that hard limit of 4. I'm glad to see the classes that used to only have 2, which was really crappy to get a thing and realize you only had 2, but that guy had 9 options.
Yeah,
but I mean, I do miss the change to like the clerics and wizards where they just feel like they're so much more limited than they used to be.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like when you're looking back at 2014 PHB, there were a lot of problems. But then when you kind of get to, you add in Xanathars, especially Tasha's, essentially Player's Handbooks 2 and 3, they fixed so much. And things were in a really good spot post Tasha's, even though I hated Silvery Barbs and I hated Artificers. Like those are things I can manage. You know, you're not going to find a perfect game with every class that works perfect for you, but things were in a good spot. I didn't see many people complaining about the variety they had or the options available to them. They didn't feel like they were
other than me,
other than you guys. Yeah. But I don't know, just none of these new classes that we have seen so far, and we've gone through quite a bit of the list, have blown me out of the water yet. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because it should just be improvements, but I kind of feel like it's just power creep, and I don't know.
I think as a new like set of core books, I kind of get where they're coming from, which is they're very afraid. Their game right now is very popular, and they don't want to change too much because they're afraid if they do, they're going to lose their audience.
Yeah, but it has been on a bad downslide the last couple of years.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like this that they have done could have just been the next Xanathar or Tasha's book full of options for you to use and optional fixes for you to apply to your game. And if they were going to make a truly new set of core books, I would have liked to see more radical
changes.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see a Dwight Stewart and his guide to everything, and
All right, I'm done listening
See,
to you.
they could have just done what they've done in every other edition and released an Unearthed Arcana book.
Yeah,
and
I would have loved that.
While I don't use most of what are in those other Unearthed Arcanas, I still have the option to use them, and like something like that would have been a perfect release, I think, at this point in the game.
I agree, and that's why I liked Xanathars and Tachas, because it was all presented as options. You could choose what you wanted to adopt. If you loved things as they were, you didn't have to adopt anything. If you saw problem areas with certain classes, you could adopt only those changes. I like that modularity, and I think you're missing some of that in what they're doing here. Yeah, they're trying to make a lot of quality of life updates, but they could have easily just made this the next one of their line of books that gave you a bunch of new options to use.
Is 2024 going into Creative Commons? Have they mentioned anything about that at all?
They definitively mentioned that 2024 is going into the Creative Commons in February of 2025 after the Monster Manual releases. So it will all be. That's my hope for it. Is not. This is where my state of D&D at WotC is that my hope for cool stuff coming out does not come from Wizard of the Coast. It's from all the third-party creators that once it is in the Creative Commons will be able to elaborate on it and actually be creative.
See, I don't think these people are gonna elaborate on 2024. I think they're just gonna keep elaborating on 2014. Because you look at
I've already seen stuff from multiple of the big third-party creators that have done lots of Kickstarter campaigns and have big Patreons that have said that they are essentially waiting for that stuff to enter Creative Commons so that they can roll off of that.
Yeah, they just doubled their work there because now they have to do it for 2024 and 2014. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to move off of 2014.
They will stop making 2014 stuff.
I know people say that every edition, every time new stuff comes out, they say, I'm not going to do this, but within 2 years, you will find no one doing the older stuff and only people doing the newer stuff.
All right, guys, mark your calendars. 2 years from now.
It's true though. Like I got
July 2026. Let's see what the state of the game is.
I got in this huge argument with a bunch of idiots online naturally, and my stance was very simply that everyone will end up switching to the new edition. And naturally, you have naysayers like, why would I do that? I've already got all the books. And, that might be great. And maybe at your table, maybe you won't. But as soon as that first person at your table does, it's over with. Like that whole party is going to swap over to the new edition. It has happened every time without fail, except for 4th edition.
You know what? It even happened with 4th edition. While it did split the audience, 4th edition was so controversial that it split the audience and created the whole Pathfinder system. Everyone that was playing D&D moved to 4th edition.
Most of the people I know, I kept playing D&D. I didn't go to Pathfinder. I stayed with 3.5. And I know a lot of people who did that, a hell of a lot of them.
we stayed with 3.5 until Pathfinder, like the full set of Pathfinder stuff came out, and then we realized that Pathfinder was really just D&D 3.75.
Yeah.
And just
we knew it was, but we already had all of the books. And, it was, but that was one of the Pathfinder was its own thing. It wasn't D&D per se, and so.
Oh, the first edition definitely was D&D.
Yeah, I know it was, but it was still
at the right time of me having a decent job and still being single and not having any responsibilities to be like, yeah, I could spend all my money on this books.
See, I just kept buying all the 3.5 books. So,
but all right.
Yeah, so everybody will end up swapping to the edition within a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me and Craig are going to sit around and continue playing 2014 D&D.
That's fine.
Greg's going to keep playing the bells.
I'm going back to Redbox.
Playing Shadowdark.
All right. Thanks for listening. Bye. See you, Craig.